So welcome back to another round of experiments. I had this panel. I have a couple of panels like this that I bought in a smaller size with the idea of, well, you know, experimentation, etc. I got so worked up about it that I ended up not doing anything other than priming them. So they've been laying around in my studio for a while, and I figured, why not work on one of them? Because I bought a roll of what I think is called Bookbinder's gauze. I think that's what you call it. They use it, obviously, to bind books with. And it's a little bit more sturdy than the stuff you use when you inevitably cut yourself with one of these wonderfully sharp craft knives. That kind of gauze is quite floppy, and I've had some trouble with that, putting it on panels, trying to work over it with paint. And this stuff is quite a bit stiffer. So what I want to see is if I can get some kind of organic looking texture in it, because that would be, you know, it's a downside of having stuff that is quite stiff. It may not be easy to work. So in this experiment, I think I'm going to try and create some sort of curtain-like shape coming from the top and going down in a textural way. Am I making any sense? I have no idea here. So I'm just going to be a little bit aggressive with it because, like I said, it's quite stiff and sturdy. Make a big mess. You use your palette knife or whatever object. I almost ripped my finger on one of the threads. Quite sharp. It's not very expensive stuff, which is nice. I think I bought a couple of meters. So I have a little bit of room to play with that here. So let me show you up close a little bit. You can tear the vertical weave out a little bit. Pretty sure anyone watching who does book binding is gonna cry now, but saw it on my art supplier's website. They keep suggesting me products that are completely random, probably because my orders are so random, which I love. So I just end up adding random stuff to my orders to, you know, you have to reach a certain amount before they will send it. So I have some matte medium. This is the standard acrylic matte medium, which is quite thin, as you can see. I actually found out that I ran out of gel medium, which can be a little bit easier. But the fluid matte medium is fine as well because it's really just glue, right? I'm gonna try and put this back into shape a little bit more. That's one of those things when you order stuff on your art supplier's website and then you fill your basket with stuff that is so random, and then when you order you find out that you forgot to order stuff that you actually need, like acrylic gel medium. It goes down pretty okay. As I'm going to put some more of this stuff on top. And I think I'm going to put a layer of gesso over it as well, so that's going to stick it down even further, keep it down. I'm going to trim the edges when everything is dry, so I think it looks fun. The thing with texture, when you add stuff to your substrate, and especially when it's a different color than your board, you might think that the texture is too much, but I've found that when you make everything the same color, when you gesso it, a lot of the texture tones down. Some of it disappears if it's not textural enough. You know, when you're being too subtle because you think it's too much. And the same goes for a black cover. If you cover everything in black, a lot of that texture is also going to disappear even more. Okay? So you can keep that in mind when you're preparing your surfaces. I actually had a couple of works in the past where I worked for quite a long time on getting specific texture, and then I ended up deciding that I wanted a darker background, and a lot of that texture disappeared, and it's really a shame. So this is gesso, acrylic gesso. I'm just going to cover everything, basically. I think I did some raw umber under painting thingy. A while back, but I'm just going to make everything white. Just work a little bit of, get those strokes out. If you have any loose threads or loose pieces, you can stick them with the gesso as well. So yeah, this is still pretty wet. So anyway, what I have here is, oh, this has an intelligent opening. I have a habit of destroying packaging because my brain doesn't realize that it has an elegant opening. So anyways, this is kneadable graphite, and I'm going to be smart here for the first time probably in my life and get a glove. Something tells me this stuff is gonna go everywhere. So this is ArtGraf, kneadable graphite, something like that. It looks like a kneadable eraser. And I've been wanting to try this for a really, really long time. So why not do it on camera now? I've never touched this stuff. I watched videos that looked really awesome where people had these giant balls of graphite. So that is my dream. I'm going to start small here, okay? So it's quite, how do you say that, slippery, maybe? Which makes sense, because graphite is quite slippery, and it's also a little drier, I guess, than I expected. So it crumbles, some of it, a little bit. But who cares? I'm pretty sure you can do fun stuff with that as well. This looks really fun. This is my a very old sketchbook, so it's very crappy paper. Yeah, this looks like something I could do all day. You can make these fun looking textures by just putting it on and just kneading it and then applying it to the paper, and you can obviously move it around. That's a lot of fun. I wonder if they can do the same thing with charcoal, or if charcoal is somehow not suitable. I would probably sell my stuff to get my hands on a ball of kneadable charcoal. Yeah, this is so much fun. I can imagine it's even more glorious if you just take the whole the whole thing out of the package. I think this is about as dark as it gets. It's graphite, so you're limited in the darkness of your values. Gonna try it. It transfers a lot to your hands. Okay, so yeah, you can see my glove here. Try and erase some of it. This is just a hard plastic eraser by Staedtler. It erases pretty well. It pretty much, I think, behaves like a pencil, except that, of course, you don't have to spend half a day covering your paper. I have this other, I have this graphite stick, which is basically just a big square stick of graphite, which is also great for covering large areas. I have a bristle brush here. I'm going to try and see how it blends. It blends pretty well. I think with this stuff you can create nice looking soft areas, different kind of values, and still keep a lot of dynamic, I think, in your work. And of course, I'm going to assume that it's compatible with different graphite products. So if you want more details or you want certain areas to be sharper, you can just bring in your pencils. Because I think that this stuff only comes in just one size fits all, right? There are no different hardness in this kneadable product. So yeah, kneadable graphite. I love it. Yeah, maybe it's something for a next video where we can do a whole project, maybe with this, maybe bring in some pencils as well. I'm gonna try and make a mental note of that. I did this to get, I'm trying to get an idea of what I want to put on my substrate, and while it's drying, I'm just gonna try a couple of things because I'm not sure what I want to put on my board. So here's a close-up. You can see it's quite dry. When you put your thumb in it, it tends to break. That's something that you need to keep in mind. And like I said, everything is going to be covered in graphite. So, ArtGraf, needle, graphite. I'll work with that a little bit more in the in some a few some of my future videos. Yes. Okay. Like I said, this is an old sketchbook, so it's falling apart. So I tend to rip out pages and stuff. Ever since I work with my gel plate, I tend to think that my whole life is a gel plate. So I just stick stuff on other stuff and then come to the conclusion that that really only works on a gel plate. But it's called an experiment for a reason, right? So sometimes you can tell that half of this is not even dry, which is, oh, that looks fun. You can get away with anything, right? As long as you call it an experiment. So I have more stuff here. This is liquid charcoal. I am also going to do another video on this stuff where I work with it in an organized manner so you can actually see how it works. Instead of right now where I'm just raiding my supply closet and sticking stuff on my substrate. I don't know what the binder is. I'm gonna look that up, but it tends to separate a little bit. I worked with this before. Oh, by the way, this is the Da Vinci Colineo. And if you are looking for a watercolor brush that is vegan, I would 100% recommend this brush. It's awesome. Yeah, that's the only thing I can tell you. It's awesome. And I'm pretty sure that some watercolor people are like, no, it doesn't work. Like whatever sable Kolinsky type of animal hair people swear by. But this is a very good brush. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I worked with the liquid charcoal a while back. I had some trouble lifting and blending, so I had thought about trying some different kind of paper. Like I said, I need to do some controlled testing. Overall, it's a nice product. It's not cheap. I was a little bit like, okay. I actually own a lot of black watercolor because my life is pretty much made up out of black paint, so why not? That are also great. So at some point I was, what does this liquid charcoal have that black watercolor doesn't have? And like I said, I haven't quite figured it out yet. I've seen some people blend with it the way that you would blend dry charcoal, but I haven't managed to do that quite well. So when you run out of options, just do spatters. It's always good. It took me way too long to realize that if you want your spatters to go down, you have to tap on the top of your brush. And I'm just sharing that information with you in the hopes that you won't tell anyone else. That was embarrassing. I think some of my gesso is still quite wet. I'm gonna get a hair dryer in a little bit. All right, so far so good. That's quite a bit of experimenting. We're gonna continue with paint. I think in the second part of this experiment, and in the meantime I'm gonna dry this to a dry finish with a hair dryer. Okay, so if you're working with me and you want to continue in the next part applying paint, make sure everything is dry, and I will see you in the next part. Bye.